Hello and welcome to Podtoid. We are your hosts. I'm CJ.
I'm Chris.
I'm Dan.
I'm Charlotte.
Je suis Akams.
And this is episode 422, and we have a good and apparently French show for you today. We have listener questions coming up, which unfortunately we couldn't do last week because we had to, unfortunately, cancel last week's episode due to an illness. My apologies on that. I did not see that myself getting food poisoning at the last minute, but boy, howdy did I.
It's kind of funny because I knew you were going to get ill because like I got really sick a few days before, and like given like my trendsetter abilities, I expected somebody else on the cast to get like a horrible stomach illness within a few days, and it was you, unfortunately.
Thanks for that. Of all the trends you have to set.
Well, maybe follow your own path, you know? Like
yes.
Like, I can understand why no one would want to look like me or be anything like me, but I appreciate your emulation of like the 2 nights I spent vomiting. Yeah, I'm not sure if your performance was probably worse than mine, but it sounded pretty nasty.
Well, it was certainly a long performance, many hours.
I bet mine was worse. I bet I was more ill. I bet I was.
You're always more ill than I am, so I'd have to concede to that. Yes.
So I win.
Yes, you do win.
Yeah, I win. Okay.
That is the point of today's show is to figure out who won sickness. Congratulations,
I won.
Chris.
Yeah. We can wind up the show. Yeah.
You won.
Oh. Give him the rub to Chris.
I will.
Yeah. But hey, I figured, you get sick, I get sick. We're best friends, and that's what we do. We get sick together. We can start sharing illnesses next time. So I can get your stomach thing that you have, and you can get my I don't know what I have, AIDS. You can get my AIDS, and I can make that joke because all gay people are allowed to make AIDS jokes.
What did you eat? What was it that made you sick?
I've narrowed it down to a pan that I thought I cleaned. I did not clean before I used for cooking again. If anyone wants to figure out how disgusting I am as a human being, I cook with dirty pans.
Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
CJ, you're gay?
He's going to quit the show now.
Guys, my pastor will not allow this. I have to go.
But it did suck because last week was a very big week. It marked the 1-year anniversary since we did our first test show for the new and 100% less communist Podtoid. Charlotte, you didn't join until February, but do you guys remember the first demo show we did where I thought it'd be good to have 10 news stories covered in it? Boy, that was a momentum killer.
I didn't care about this place until I joined. It's all about me.
Damn. The irony, I was thinking about this just today. I was thinking about that because there's an event coming up that it was like, I remember going to that event the day after we recorded the first kind of episode. And I remember at the beginning of the first episode, one of the first things that happens on the show is I complain about being ill. Like, so it's good to know that 12 months later, I've got all that sickness is out of the system. And
you're just never getting better.
Never, basically.
Like a sick little sister in a Japanese RPG. You're just going to be sick throughout the entire adventure until we finally beat the final boss, and then you'll emerge from your wheelchair.
Well, hurry up and beat the final boss, because I'm bored of this shit.
But last week was also BlizzCon, where the protests that people had been talking up for a while did not seem to penetrate the event itself. They had... I think the weeks of leaks that people had, or that Blizzard had, got people really excited for the event, got them ready to forgive and forget. We got Overwatch 2, Diablo 4, but we also did get an apology of sorts from Blizzard that I guess went something like this. Yeah, when you don't remove the suspension, are you really sorry? I mean, when you're saying we're not sorry for what we did, we're just sorry about how we told you, that's kind of just the way of just saying we're untouchable in the eyes of our fans.
I got to admit, I did have to play it back to actually hear the word sorry, like the first time.
Like play it backwards, like a Beatles demonic tune?
Yeah,
Yes.
just like that, like in The Gate that I watched the other week. At first, like they got through it, and I was like, they didn't even apologize. They didn't even say sorry. And I guess it was just buried so quickly amongst all the other dialogue that it kind of went over my head.
I think it went over a lot of people's heads. But last week was also the 65th anniversary of Godzilla, and I was really excited because I had lined up an interview with Godzilla to celebrate. And no, sorry, Godzilla, that was last week. We're not doing the interview this week. Maybe for the 70th anniversary. So sorry about that. No. You don't need to bring that type of language onto the show. This is a family show. Okay, you're just gonna have to leave.
I do like that because, like, it's a 1-year anniversary of us doing this show. You've decided to turn it into a clip show and play like all of the jokes that you had from like 10, 12 months ago. That are you're still rocking them.
Speaking of Godzilla, I want to give a shout out to the Mothra twins and some weird sexual feelings they gave me as a boy.
Are they in a movie? Are they in one of the films? Are they, or are they in like a TV series or something?
They're in all the films. All the Mothra films. They're the two little Japanese ladies who sing.
They live in a shoebox.
Oh,
it's great.
right.
The Luminaries, I think is their name.
Yeah.
Luminaries. That's not it. Probably Luminaries. But like I said, we do have a good show for you today. We have listener questions. We're also going to talk about Death Stranding, Outer Worlds, and more. But before we get into anything, I need to have a bit of a serious moment with you all, and I need to speak directly to a portion of our audience, specifically the white portion of our audience. There's no beating around the bush, so I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Please, for the love of God, stop having gender reveal parties. You guys probably heard about the latest disaster this week, but in Texas, and of course it is Texas, a pilot escaped with only minor injuries after his plane crashed during a gender reveal stunt. The plane dropped 350 gallons of pink liquid, it's a girl, and then aerodynamically stalled. Just came to a stop in the air, crashed into the ground, flipped over. The two people inside the plane suffered only minor injuries. Nobody on the ground was injured. Why? Why do we keep... And why is it getting bigger? Like, you would think the one that started the forest fire would have been like, oh, man, we need to scale these back to just like a cake or a balloon. But no, a plane crash now.
I think eventually, like, this going to keep ramping up, and it's just going to be like another, like, Oklahoma bombing. Not intentionally, but just something catastrophic is going to happen. To let someone know, Jaden's going to have a little baby brother. It's fucking...
I think a lot of it, like, is... I don't want to take away from the happiness of these people and their event, but there's a reason a lot of these videos go viral. I think a lot of the times we see a lot of stuff that's just like, I'm doing this so I can film it and put it on the internet, even though it's like a legitimate thing in my life. I think it just gets bigger. People read about it. They see other videos that go popular. Maybe they show them on Ellen. I don't know. And then it's just like, oh, maybe I make a video of us doing that, and then we'll get on Ellen or whatever. But maybe that's me being a bit cynical. But yeah,
No, it's definitely 100% it.
Yeah, and I also think they're just selfish assholes. Like, no one cares. Send a mass text to your family. It doesn't matter. You don't need to have like a clever way to do it. It's congratulations, you didn't wear a condom.
I just think if you're gonna dump 350 gallons of water out of a plane, at least do it responsibly. Come over to California and dump it on one of our 752 wildfires we have going on right now, instead of in Texas where they don't have wildfires.
Or don't name your baby like Jasmine with like 3 Z's and 2 E's. Just stop. Just said the cycle is continuing.
You say they use pink water, did you?
Yes.
Can I imagine if they'd use Pepto-Bismol instead, like 300 gallons?
Oh man. Then what if it was a boy? What would they use then? Just like chlorine? I can't think of a blue liquid.
Blue milk
Dettol.
from a...
Dettol, yeah. Yeah.
Or
Everyone's just
Anthem
looking in the
Hill.
sky. What's that? And everyone's just getting their face burned off.
Damn.
Totally. It's like a British thing, right?
Dettol
Yeah.
is like toilet bleach. Like it's not pure
Oh.
bleach, but it's like the stuff you use to clean a toilet with.
Okay. It's called Drano in the States, and yeah, good call.
All right, let's go ahead and get talking about games. We're going to start out with Dan, because Dan has been playing Death Stranding, and that is the big game of the moment right now. So, Dan, go ahead and kick us off.
Yeah, I got on Kojima's wild ride. I wasn't sure what to expect. And initially going in, I saw a lot of the reviews, and I didn't read any of them, though. I just saw the scores. And then I would scroll down, and I'd see the comments, and I'd be like, man, I don't know if this is going to be any decent. So I went into it with very kind of a downer vibe, really.
Mm-hmm.
And coming off of Red Dead Redemption 2, which was another giant open world thing, and I was like, man, I really don't know if I'm going to like this game. But I'm kind of loving it. And I'm wondering if I'm like a proto-boomer or something. Like, I feel like my taste in video games lately is like the equivalent of model train collecting. If I was like born back in the 50s or something, I'm positive I'd be that grandparent going, come here, Billy, let me show you this carriage from 1888 and the importance of the great track of... I'd be that guy, basically.
What the fuck is that? What the fuck has that
Cosby.
got to do with Death Stranding? I don't get the link
Because
there
attention
at all.
to detail. This thing is just full of it. Details.
Okay, right, okay.
This thing is details out the wazoo. But anyways, one of the things that I've seen so many of these bloody user reviews throw around is you'll either hate it or you'll love it.
Ugh.
That is thrown around so much with this game, and I could see why certain folks wouldn't like this game for a lot of the same reasons why they wouldn't like Red Dead Redemption 2, for example. Simply because both games demand your attention. They're both games that straight up don't respect your time and kind of revel in that. But the way Death Stranding goes about demanding your attention is pretty different from almost anything I've played. To sum up the actual gameplay loop, you deliver things. You are a delivery man. You're a porter. You work for a company known as Bridges. You're trying to connect the United States in this weird post-apocalyptic thing, which is known as Death Stranding. Anyways.
You know what I love about that?
Yeah.
No subtext. It's just all out there for everyone to see. Bridges. That is the name of this company that's trying to reunite the United States. God.
I mean, believe it or not, like, to not go into full-blown story spoilers or anything like that, I went in expecting to be pretty confused. Like, initially, I was like, oh, man, I'm going to get on this wild ride and not understand a thing that's going on. But honestly, I'm almost 20 hours in, and I'm pretty confident in almost everything that I've heard so far in terms of, like, understanding it. Like, I have a good grasp of this story. It's actually nowhere near as complicated as I think Kojima wants it to be, or I shouldn't say that. What you would probably think from seeing the trailers. 'Cause in the trailers, there's so much wild imagery and terms like Death Stranding and like BTs and Dooms and all this. But once you actually start watching the story, and I say watching intentionally because there is a cutscene at the start that is like straight up 40 minutes. This is not a Phantom Pain situation where it's like really kind of just nothing but gameplay for like 90% of the game. This is very much a hard mixture of long cutscenes and then very long gameplay segments. But anyways, outside of the story stuff, the gameplay loop is your delivery man. But the thing that kind of demands your attention in this game isn't simply, the narrative or anything like that in Red Dead Redemption 2, where it's like a purposely slow burn. It's actually how you're moving around the environment in this game that demands your attention. In any other 3D game, you just move the left analog stick and you're focused on where you're going. You're not really thinking about the environment around you. Maybe at times you'll get stuck and you'll jump over something. In Death Stranding, it trains you to be hyper-focused on everything around you and how you're going to get to your destination. In many ways, the game will train you to be careful on everything.
I can't play this fucking game because I can't even walk down the street without falling over.
You would not do too well in the environment of Death Stranding.
Can Sam do a roly-poly if he has too much forward momentum? Or does he just eat shit?
Oh,
Fucking
man,
roll.
you will do a roly-poly and eat shit at the same time, and then your baby will cry.
Aww.
I saw this.
You will trip and stumble and fall and drop packages, and you will have to take out that bridge baby and rock it. A lot.
A lot. Because
But,
if there's something I really want from video games, it's fatherhood, definitely. I used to guide Pac-Man around that maze, and I was like, this is all well and good, Pac-Man, but where's Pac Junior at this point?
But,
It's so nice that Kojima could find some influence in babysitting Mama. I gotta say, just
it's definitely something. There are plenty of moments with that bridge baby that are pretty great that I won't go into. But anyways, as you're traversing the environment, you have a little scanning device on your left shoulder, basically, that kind of scans the environment, and it'll have three kind of different colors or levels of difficulty on the environment. Blue being you can sprint across this no problem, just keep walking ahead, don't worry about it. To yellow, where you might slip and fall if you're not too careful or trip on a rock, so just watch it. To red, which is the equivalent of like Osh Ting, warning, avoid, bad times ahead, you will fall and the baby will cry. And there's a lot of that, unfortunately. And the environment in this game is like, it's so well designed in terms of the scripted missions, because it's hard to go into without really visually seeing it, but there's boulders and rocks, there's inclines, there's rivers, there's mountains to climb with ropes and whatnot, and it's really about the journey of it all. Like that whole core loop of delivering packages sounds so incredibly boring.
yes,
But once
it
you're
does.
out there in the meat of it, though, it's to me anyways, I'm having a blast.
Honestly,
And it's hard to
Dan,
explain why.
Dan, you had me at boulders and rocks.
Hell yeah.
but like I appreciate the fact as well that you're having to be very kind of broad with your descriptions here, because I assume once you start talking about characters and missions, then you're treading into spoiler territory. So I can appreciate that you're trying to kind of you're painting the game in broad strokes. Do you know what I mean?
But after roughly about 20 hours of playing this, like Death Stranding has me hyper focused on like every little detail in front of me, which is something I can't say a lot for a lot of games. And in those opening hours, the game completely hazes you. Like after the first initial cutscene, you are dropped into a very steep, rocky area, and the game will very much train you to just fall on your face and go, look at that. See, don't do that. Look at your patches are going down the river. Good job, they're gone. What you idiot. And it'll haze you. Like those first few hours are incredibly frustrating, and it's very intentional, I think. But then it does get easier. It does definitely get easier to an extent. Eventually you'll unlock various tools. I'm sure everyone's already seen, placing down ladders and things like that.
Yeah.
And that's maybe my favorite aspect of this game, because without going into any spoilers or anything like that, eventually you'll start connecting the settlements to an in-game network. And once you've reached the settlements, you can essentially bring them online, which will quite literally bring the game online. You won't see any players, but you'll see what other folks have been leaving behind and building in that area that you brought online. So this could be anything from ladders to ropes to signs and messages to even like extremely helpful things such as full-blown bridges over rivers and even roads, making traversal and so if there's this formerly massive rocky area, if you brought that area online, potentially a player could have built a road through it, making it much easier to traverse.
So, do you have the option of, like, for people who are, and I don't know if you even know this, for someone like me who's not going to start playing the game for another 2 to 3 weeks, is there a chance that when we start it up, it's just going to be a cakewalk because all the other players will have built all the stuff that we can easily traverse on? Or is there a way that we can kind of go into the world completely fresh?
You will go into it completely fresh, because when you start out, that world won't be connected in any way. You'll have to start bringing things online. Okay. So when you are fresh, if you are going into a new area in general, it will disconnect you from that network once you go into that new area, and it will always be fresh. So when you're at least first exploring a brand new area, it'll be 100% rough and grit, rocks, rivers, the whole bit. So you'll have to start putting down ladders and ropes yourself, basically.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear, because I would hate to go into a game, one of these connected worlds and just have everything be already set forth for me.
Yeah, and it's also based on what you've unlocked in terms of items.
Okay.
So if you've only unlocked, let's say, ladders, bridges, and watchtowers, you'll only see ladders, bridges, and watchtowers from other players in that environment you brought online.
By the way, the ladders, bridges, and watchtowers match on WWE this week was amazing.
Oh, man. Anyways, you'll also get lights from placing down things. And the way lights work in this universe is they essentially go towards your overall delivery man rating you have. So the more lights you have, the better your overall delivery rating will be. That'll unlock things like being able to carry more weight, various new items, and things like that. And overall, it makes returning to areas really cool, just to see what people have been up to. My favorite one so far is really simple. It was just a sign that somebody left telling people not to pee there, but it was surrounded by mushrooms, meaning people peed everywhere on it. I was a big fan of that.
Now, so you're just essentially a glorified UPS man in this, correct?
Essentially, yeah.
Can you sleep with hot, horny housewives who are bored because their husbands are at work, like normal UPS men?
No. Basically, everyone's in bunkers, so you don't really... You kind of just, like, when you get to a place you're delivering, you just put it in, like, a machine, and it goes down into their bunker, and they bring a little hologram person to thank you.
Goes down into their bunker is a great sex euphemism, by the way.
Hell yeah. But earlier, I said the game gets easier to an extent, because no matter how well an area is developed, it can be infested by what is known as BTs. They're basically the big bads of this game, essentially.
Yes, the
They're
Korean boy band.
Yes.
The British telecoms provider.
Oh, man, yeah. Hey, I have seen some K-pop fans not be happy that BTs are called BTs, because if you just look up, like, Death Stranding tips on YouTube, they're getting, like, tons of viewage, and there's, like, the odd bit of Korean writing that when you put a Google Translate, they're very confused. Anyways.
Yes. Well, IGN changed their thumbnail for their video on how to kill BTS or BTs because it was how to kill BTS.
It was really good.
Oh, no.
There was plenty. That's exactly what I was referring to. There were plenty of Korean comments down there. When you put them to Google Translate, they were not happy.
I've got to admit, at this moment, I always get BTS and BTK mixed up.
But essentially, they're these invisible creatures that kind of are the post effect of this post-apocalyptic Death Stranding, as they call it in this universe. And they seem to be in some sort of other dimension of some kind, or some sort of other time. I don't know. The only way you can really tell if they're there, you'll see their footprints starting to just appear on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll also rain. Not just any kind of normal rain. This rain is known as a timefall. Anything it touches, it rapidly ages. So that can be like objects, so it'll rust them very quickly. And it also has just a really cool effect where when there's a timefall going on and it's raining, all of the plants around you are quickly dying and then regrowing and then quickly dying again.
Oh,
it looks visually nuts. So it'll rust stuff, it'll age animals and kill them like within seconds. And it's why the environment in this game looks nothing like America. It looks, if you've seen the environments in this game, it looks like something out of Iceland. That's because of the accelerated aging going on throughout the environment of this game. It's been aging, I imagine, very rapidly for a very long time.
This is the first I've heard of that, and that may be the coolest thing I've heard yet about this game.
No, yeah, when I first saw it, I was just kind of blown away by it.
Are you playing on a pro?
No, I'm playing on a standard, and the Decima engine is incredible. It runs at a solid 30 FPS, no dips whatsoever between both the standard and pro. And it looks incredible on a standard. It's nuts.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to Charlotte, who has been playing one of my favorite DS games ever. Charlotte, tell us about Professor Layton and the Lost Future, aka the Unwound Future.
Yeah, I decided I wanted to play a puzzle game on Friday night, and I've spent all of this week playing Picross, however you say it, DS, and I've pretty much done all the puzzles on that. Mm-hmm. So I decided to play a Professor Layton game, and I thought, I have this in my collection. I don't think I've actually played it because it came out in, I think, 2010, and that was when I started university and just didn't have time to play games anymore. But within a couple of hours, I realized I have played this game before because I know what the answers to all the puzzles. But I couldn't remember a lot of the story, and actually it was kind of fun I didn't know the exact solution, but I could remember enough of the logic to solve some of the frustrating ones pretty quickly. So it was still really fun. In fact, probably more fun than the first time I actually played it. So I pretty much breezed through it this weekend and finished it. Started it Friday night and finished it a few hours ago. And it's great. It's some of the puzzles are really clever. Just some of them are like super stupid trick question type puzzles, but some of them are really make you think. Um, but it has enough hint coins that if you get completely stuck, well, you won't get completely stuck because you can use the hint coins to sort of help yourself out, and they're plentiful. Even the little puzzle book mini game, I didn't try the parrot sort of like jumping on ledges style mini game or the toy car mini game, but the puzzle book mini game where you get these little stickers when you solve different puzzles and you have to put them together to make a story. That was really, really fun. And the story, without ruining it, the story is very sad and made me cry, which I don't think Professor Layton game has made me cry before. Yeah, it's brilliant. So I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna play Pandora's Box. I'm pretty sure I've not played that one, but I probably have. Because I must have. What must have happened is because my sister was the one who owned all these, not me, back in the day. I must have come home from university and played it one summer, but I could have sworn that any games published after around about 2009, I just never played. But there you go. Turns out that my history, like around about 10 years ago, is really fuzzy. So that's a cool thing.
I'm having I'm having trouble wrapping my head around the idea of having less time for gaming when you're at university or college, because that's where I was in my prime of having free time for gaming. So the idea that like is university just like really intense over there in the EU UK?
I mean, I did a law degree, so it was kind of
Oh, never
crazy
mind
and
then.
horrible. Yeah, yeah, I had no life at all during university. I'm glad that's done. Yeah, yeah.
I was gonna go for a law degree, but then at the end of 4 years of college, I'm like, no, just no, 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 no.
I mean, it is a bit easier in England because you do it as an undergraduate degree, and it's usually 3 years, but mine was 4 because I went abroad for a year. So it's not as bad as in the US and also in Germany where I live now, but it's still pretty. The university I went to was pretty mental, so I didn't have time for games, and it was actually joining the world of work when I started playing games again. So yeah, still filling in those gaps.
Nice. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up with Occam's. Occam's, you have been playing The Outer Worlds, which was just one of the biggest games of this year. How is it going?
Yeah, it's really fun. It's really nice to kind of play an RPG where your choices have consequences and that it's not black and white. Like I've been in situations. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I'm in situations where I walk into this thing and I can see the setup coming for like this is the overarching conflict in this area, and I go, oh, okay, well, fuck these people, and these people seem cool. But then you go and you start talking to folks, and you realize, wait, no, there's good people. There's good people on both sides. There's good and bad in both kind of viewpoints of what's happening in certain areas, and it's really cool to like struggle to like choose what you want to do in an RPG. I miss those days of like actually like wanting invested in the situation rather than in like, yeah, I'll drag Thar, the Nightmare King has been destroyed. Cool, whatever. So yeah, it's been really fun. It's not a perfect game. The combat gets a little kind of like, I think that the actual like combat and like gearing out your characters and stuff is probably the most boring part of the game. It's not super engaging, kind of feels almost floaty, but I don't care because I love like all my dialogue skills are really high, and I love being able to like just talk to people and work my way through situations without having to shoot a gun or kill anyone. So it's quite enjoyable. And so yeah, I'd highly recommend it to anybody. If you're a fan of Mass Effect, if you miss Fallout, if any of those things, the character elements of those games appeal to you, you cannot go wrong with Outer Worlds. And if I could be so bold, I wanted to talk about a movie.
Okay.
That I now full disclosure, I have not seen this movie, but I watched the trailer for it this morning, and I needed to speak about it to the world. It's called Higher Ground. It's from 1988. It was a made-for-TV kind of movie, and it starred John Denver as a retired FBI agent who like is investigating a friend's murder and drug smuggling. And it is an action movie starring John Denver. That was it was going to be the basis of a TV show that never got made. And for the audience who doesn't know who John Denver is, I would say ask your parents, especially if your parents happen to be white. Go ahead and ask them. John Denver makes Michael Bublé look like Ted Bundy. So to cast him in an action movie where in the trailer I have seen him like hit people and like do judo and shit and be like, look here, man, this shit has to stop. And it's John fucking Denver. The guy was on like the Muppets a bunch, that kind of dude. So yeah, Higher Ground, John Denver, 1988. I watch it if you just love insane shit. So and that's my gaming and movie for the week.
You are listening to Podtoid.
All right, that is it for games, but we have some headlines to cover. It is time for the news. And like I said at the top of the show, last week was the big week for news, but we still have listener questions coming up, so it's okay if this segment's a little bit light. Both stories that we have this week have to do with a bit of speculation, and the first of which involves EA. Now, as you might know, outside of EA, the sports brand, the company hasn't had the best 2019. Anthem didn't do as well as it had hoped, even with the delay, and the jury is still out on whether its upcoming Star Wars game is going to be any good. But like most other companies, EA is already looking forward to the next generation of consoles, and on December 4th, it might announce one of the first titles for PlayStation 5, Project Scarlet. On Twitter this week, BioWare posted, it will be having a community party on December 4th to celebrate the Dragon Age series. It ended the tweet with, quote, see you on 12/4 for Dragon Age Day, where the letter A in age was replaced with the number 4. It's not an outright confirmation, but it really does feel like one. Dragon Age, along with Mass Effect, were two of the franchises that defined BioWare in the last generation of consoles, and both kind of fell out of favor in this one. I like BioWare, and I think they have some of the most or the best realized game worlds to work with, so I do in hope fact we are getting the chance, or they are getting a chance to make another Dragon Age. Dan, you are drawn to these big, huge open world games. You into Dragon Age would like to see another one?
Yeah, I love BioWare, genuinely. I love the Mass Effect trilogy, and it's tough seeing them in the situation they're in right now. And it's tough to be a BioWare fan when you played Anthem and you played Andromeda, and it's like, man, if I really hope they're around after this. So I'm hopeful. I am really hoping that they took their sweet time with this thing, that it had time to cook, and that they have a good story to work with and just something there. Well, it's hard to explain.
No, I get it, because you always have to remember that as much as you like BioWare, they're still owned by EA, and EA seems to be a company that is still trying to figure out post-purchase monetization and whether it's appropriate for all games or not. And the latest Need for Speed, I think that's EA. I'm pretty sure it's EA.
Yeah, Need for Speed is EA. Yep.
It launched without microtransactions, so there is hope that...
Which is exciting, because that last Need for Speed was an absolute disaster because of microtransactions.
Exactly. And so there is hope that they are finally learning, that microtransactions are apparently more than fine for sports titles. Don't know why they don't get up in arms about it, but sure, I don't play sports games, spend all the money you want.
Yeah, if they just come out with a traditional-ass RPG game, open-world RPG thing, with just maybe expansion packs as the core monetization for post-release, that'd sure be exciting, but I have my doubts. So
I have the Dragon Age games on my shelf, but not played them. I want to. Everybody tells me that they're great, but I just haven't.
Everything I've heard is that I played the first one. The first one's great. Second one I've been told is bad, and I know the third one is boring. So
Inquisition's, it's fine. It's okay. It's still playable in my opinion, but yeah, 2 is kind of whatever.
Yeah.
I see so much fan fiction, fan servicey stuff about Inquisition that makes me kind of want to give that a go, but I just don't. Would it be okay to start with Inquisition, or would it make no sense?
Oh no, yeah, it's a good jumping on point for any
Okay.
new person. It's there's enough of a time jump there that you can definitely jump into that.
Yeah.
There'll be references to other games, but it's just gonna be like in the past kind of thing.
All right, our second story has to do with Deep Down. It has been roughly 6 years since Capcom announced Deep Down as a PlayStation 4 exclusive. The game, which looked to combine Dragon's Dogma with Dark Souls, had an amazing showing back in 2013, but then pretty much vanished with just the occasional mentions of it that it was still on the way over the years. This week, Eurogamer spoke with Capcom's Yoshinori Ono, and while the original team is no longer together, he said the company has kept the trademark open and has not completely given up on the title. Capcom has been on an upswing as of late with its games. Monster Hunter, Iceborne, Resident Evil 2, and Devil May Cry 5 all opened to big sales. We just found out over the weekend that Mega Man 11 has finally shipped 1 million copies. So people are clearly interested these days in the big grand games that Capcom is making, and not necessarily the fun platformers that they were once most known for. Occam's. I got the feeling that Deep Down would be exactly the type of game you'd want to play.
Yeah, it would. I had to kind of remember what it was because again, 6 years and
Yeah.
you know, I hope it gets made one day. You know, I'm not holding out super hope. Kind of the same thing how my parents for years were like when my cat ran away, they're like, yeah, we'll get you another cat. And then I wake up and it's 15 years later and I never got a cat, but that's okay because I'm the executor of their wills, so they're both fucked.
Jesus.
Hey, don't get me a cat. Let's see what happens. All right. But yes, I'm hope springs eternal, but you know, we'll see.
You are listening to Podtoid.
All right, that is it for the news, which means it is time for the Podtoid question of the week.
What's in that jug? It smells like jet fuel.
Sorry, that is not the Podtoid question of the week. This week's question comes from you, our listeners, in a segment we'd like to call the Goddamn Mail.
Here's the mail, it never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail.
Goddamn mail.
We have some good questions this week because we opened it for 2 weeks instead of one. So thank you to everyone who submitted one this week. And we're going to start things off with a query from Torch. So I guess not really a community question as much as a staff question. But Torch wants to know, what is the best sword duel we've seen in media, be it film, television, video games, or otherwise?
This was, I've had quite a few running through my head for a while, and I don't know if this is the best one, but it's always one that sticks out in my mind. In like one of the bottom 3 Bond films of all time, Die Another Day, there's a fencing match that takes place between Bond, Pierce Brosnan, and the bad guy, who's Gustav Graves, who's played by Toby Stevens. And they have this fencing match that, like in all Bond films, it's a game between the good guy and the bad guy, but they're both really leaning into it to kind of prove their fucking macho bullshit superiority. But it's fucking out of control. So it's in a fencing school and they're being watched by all the students. And I think the trainer's Madonna for some fucking reason.
Hell yeah.
Because she just like wanted to be in the movie and she's got her English voice on. And they just start this normal fencing match and then it just gets really violent. And they like go through a load of cabinets in this museum. Then they like fall down a flight of stairs. And then they both jump through plate glass windows while still fighting. And they go through like a fountain. And at all times, the scene seems to be building. Like they think, look at how this has progressed. And now clearly they're really trying to kill each other. It's not just a fencing exhibition. But it's so fucking destructive and out of control that it's like one of those fights where Peter Griffin fights the chicken in Family Guy. And you know the joke I mean, because they've done it 46 fucking times. But and this fight goes all up and down the hallways, through a fountain, through a museum. I think a suit of armor gets thrown at one point. I'm surprised someone doesn't pull a fucking gun out. And then at the end, like, I think after all, Bond kind of gets the upper hand, and Gustav Graves is just like, "Well done, Mr. Bond. You appear to have bested me." And it's just like, you were clearly going to fucking eviscerate each other. And Madonna's just like, "Oh, how wonderful." But you should watch this fight because just when you think, oh, it's probably going to settle down now, it just keeps going and it just keeps moving from building to building. And both the times they're just wearing that funky all white fencing outfit that people wear all the time. But yeah, go and watch that bit and watch the pre-credit sequence, and then don't watch anything else in Die Another Day because it's a fucking tragedy.
It's the worst Bond film.
Those are when the Bond movies were all like done by like committee. They could just tell they just were throwing whatever they could.
Yeah. Occams, let's go to you next.
All right, I got a twofer. I know, just humor me here. All right, real quick. The best live action one is the sword fight in Indiana Jones, and it's just hands down the best one. It's
I will have to go with my backup answer now.
Yep. All right. Also, honorable mention to the final fight in Rob Roy, which was like a kind of a Kmart Braveheart. It was really great. Yeah, here you go. What's his name? Fucking
Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson.
Thank you so much. Yeah. All right. So Liam Neeson, he's fighting Tim Roth, and like Liam Neeson's this big Scottish dude, so he's got like this big like Scottish, not a claymore, but like a big ass sword. And Tim Roth is like this kind of asshole French dude. And he's got kind of an sort of stabby thing. And Tim Roth is just kicking his ass because he's faster and he's better trained. And Liam Neeson's just like 17 feet tall and kind of lumbering. And after getting like just fucked up, cut up a bunch, Liam Neeson realizes he can't win, like, but actually like skill. So what he does is he sort of like falls to the ground and is like, oh, I've been beaten. And Tim Roth's all like, I'm Tim Roth, I'm kind of an asshole. And Liam Neeson straight up grabs the blade and like stands up and just be like, no, fuck you. And like wham, and hits him and like just cleaves him right on the collarbone. It's a badass scene. And how to win in a fight that you can't actually win through skill. All right,
so wait a minute, hang on a minute. So he actually like goes, I yield, and then
he's not like, he doesn't say I yield. He's like, he gets like a really bad cut on his side and like falls on the ground. He's winded and he's bleeding. Yeah. And
I thought he was like, oh, you win, and then when he's like, okay, these guards down, he then just stands up.
Oh no! Tim Roth was about to slit his throat, and he just like grabs the knife or grabs the sword by the blade and like is bleeding and shit and stabbing him, and he's like, nope, and kills him. It's great. And then the last for an animated choice, it's a movie called Sword of the Stranger. The last fight between the two main guys is just some of the most beautiful animation I've ever seen, and it's a really fucking well animated sword fight overall. You should see Sword of the Stranger if you're a big anime nerd. It's really, really good. The end.
All right, Charlotte's going to you.
All right, hear me out.
Okay.
Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, the 2008 version for the Wii. I spent so much time with that game because of a little thing called having a sister who's 8 years younger than you, who nags you and nags you and nags you to play games with her. Mm-hmm. And the sword fighting is really satisfying. I think it's the 2008 one that has sword fighting in, but the sword fighting, the trampolining, just all of that shit cannot be beat. Just bags of fun, like up there with, I would say, Mario Party even. I am a big defender of Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, the winter ones as well. So I would say that's my most memorable reference. If not, it would be the almost, as some people would say, bad sword fight in the remake of The Parent Trap, where Lindsay Lohan fights with Lindsay Lohan at summer camp.
Like, damn, God. Girl. You just pulled that from the well of oblivion. My God. I can't compete with that. I guess my answer was first going to be the Indiana Jones one, and then I'm thinking the throne room battle from Last Jedi. Suck it, haters. And that's the only other thing I can think of is any anime sword fight where someone has to run like 900 meters, like before they get their first slash in. I always love watching that because it's so stupidly ridiculous. So, like, yeah, I know my answer.
I know the intro to Ninja Gaiden didn't create that, but I feel like it popularized it.
Dan, let's go ahead and wrap up with you.
Probably the final battle in Samurai Champloo for a lot of the same reasons that Autumn's basically reiterated in his post, or I mean, in his response. Jesus, the animation is top notch in that show. It's a great anime to watch, Samurai Champloo. But my funny answer is Star Wars Episode 3: Revenge of the Sith. Obi-Wan versus Anakin. The fighting is fucking brain dead and stupid, and the quotes are great. And the context is great, too, because in New Hope, Obi-Wan talks about what a great friend your father was. He was a good friend. And then in reality, he cut his legs off and watched him burn to death while patronizing him that he was supposed to be the chosen one. So yeah, that's my favorite.
I always love watching A New Hope after seeing the original trilogy and having Obi-Wan going, I don't remember owning any droids. What the fuck?
I remember seeing that in the theaters, episode 3, and kids were crying as Anakin was burning to death.
More kids crying, the better. Let's go ahead and move on to our next question from Neo Turbo. They want to know what your favorite video game butt is. And I'm just going to go ahead and say Snake's butt from Super Smash Brothers Brawl. You know, before that's when it was nice hand size, wasn't flat like it is in the new game. So Snake's butt, that's my answer.
I mean, I've watched so many hours of Big Boss crawling on the floor, like staring straight at his ass cheeks in Metal Gear Solid 5. So I would say that his sort of dad is, you know, fighting the good fight in the butt wars.
Oh, Dan?
2B, you know? There's those ladder segments, man, and just, fuck. They get you.
Yeah.
You get a trophy for it, too.
Holy shit, really?
Yeah, you can actually try and avoid... There are playthroughs dedicated to try and avoid that trophy.
That's skeevy. Okay, Chris, what's your answer?
I had a really hard time with this one because for some reason I couldn't really think of any, but I think I'm going to go with Armika from Street Fighter for a couple of reasons. The first is hers is a deadly weapon. Like it consists of these like perfect spheres that when combined make like a death peach, and then she like busts out these flying butt pliers on like her opponents. So it's probably the deadliest ass in gaming. And then I also thought on top of that, there was all that controversy over it when Street Fighter V launched. So I really like the fact that it's such a political ass as well.
Hell yeah.
Occams, what about you?
The dude from River City Ransom when he's in the sauna.
Oh, right.
Nice.
He's got the towel, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm thinking the right bit, yeah.
All right, our next question comes to us from Triscara Pops. Has not changed their name from Halloween. They want to know if we were a Hideo Kojima character, what would our Kojima character name be? For reference, there is a character in Death Stranding named Deadman because he knows who dead people are. Am I even close on that, Dan?
No, not at all.
Okay, that's good.
There's also Die Hard, man.
There is. So Dan, let's start with you. What would your Kojima character name be?
Bigger Die Hard, man.
or Die Hard Man, Die Harder.
Hell yeah, that's it right there. Both nailed it. Die Harder, man.
With a vengeance.
Occams.
Catbeard.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
that should just be your name in general.
Yeah, that's actually just a really good name.
I don't have an answer for this one because the only thing I can come up with is like, I don't know, rainbow squirrel. That doesn't sound good at all.
That sounds like you literally just looked around the room and saw like a rainbow and a squirrel.
Kaiser Sose that shit up, man. It sounds like a failed Adult Swim pilot.
Charlotte, what about you?
I'd probably be Crisp's wench because I spent all of yesterday I ate an entire bag of they call them Lay's here and in the US as well, but we call them Walkers. They're Walkers of salt and vinegar crisps, and I could not stop myself. So I'm just imagining myself in the Death Stranding universe, like at the headquarters, like wherever he gets his upgrades done, just sat in the corner watching him eat, like drink Monster and just eating from this massive bag of crisps, just like judging him and telling him he's behind on his quotas or whatever.
You know, sea salt and vinegar is my favorite chip flavor, so no judgment. It's a great name and great chip.
Yes, it is.
It's really Moorish as well. In the way that crack is really Moorish, it's really Moorish.
Okay, real quick. Did you say cracker or crack?
Crack.
As in cocaine?
Yes. What? I'm confused.
I am too. Okay, so let me walk you through my brain real quick. Whenever I hear the term Moorish, I just think of the Robin Hood movie where Morgan Freeman was like, he's a Moor. And I'm like, oh, well, that's just like old school slang for black people. And then I heard Moorish for crack, and I thought, oh shit, is Charlotte dropping some low key racist shit in here?
I can
That's what
assure
Podtoid's all
you.
about, so.
I can assure you, I am not. I do not say those things.
I know you don't. It's just the way my brain operates.
Chris, did we go to you yet?
I don't know. I was trying to come up with some, and I think this is one of those things where you have to write them down and look at them to know whether they work as Kojima names. Like you have to have them in front of you with all the punctuation. But I kind of decided that I should use something based on my physical health because that's so. I've decided I'd probably be called Stiff Colon, but like stiff is just one F and it's a capital F, and colon's just the punctuation mark.
Oh, that I declare that is your Kojima name from now on, Stiff Colon. Okay, so for our next question, we're going to go to Jetter Mars. They want to know if a divisive review or word of mouth has ever deterred us from wanting to play a game or has made us interested in playing one. And this one came up because Death Stranding was in the headline photo of our questions post, and so I'm guessing that is what they're coming from. So has there ever been a divisive review for a game that has made you less likely to play it or actually made you want to play it more? And this one's easy for me. It is Deadly Premonition. Like I can't think of a more divisive game to get reviewed than Deadly Premonition, other than maybe God Hand. But no, that'd be my answer.
Yeah, kind of the same thing. Deadly Premonition, seeing it getting a 10 and then seeing it getting a 1, and I'm like, okay, well, I have to know what this game is about. Yeah, I'm having trouble thinking of specifics other than Deadly Premonition, but just on principle, I guess just in general, rather. If a game has really high reviews and really, really low reviews, I want to see what it's about, because if it's a bunch of 6s, I mean that sounds about right for a lot of games and whatever. But if it's got if 9s and then 3s, hell yeah, I want to see where I fall within that category, that group. So
This is a kind of tough one for me because I kind of am more influenced by the general chatter and mood around games than I am by review scores and even reviews, I'd say. I mean, to be fair, I've written one review for Destructoid, and that's it. I've mostly been interested in features, so that kind of explains why I don't pay that much heed to reviews. But thinking of maybe one or two examples, now that you've said Deadly Premonition, I definitely was intrigued by the Steam reviews for D4 because they were all over the place as well. And in part that was because they were saying, oh, it's super short and why does it end here? And I'm like, I've got to see how this ends and how ridiculous it is. And yeah, it was super boom, like, right in the middle of the game, it's over. So yeah, but it also helped that it was on sale. So if something's on sale and it's got divisive reviews, then I might give it a shot. But to be honest, if something's got really all over the place reviews and it's €60, I'm gonna wait for the price to come down.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and move on to Oso Pequeño's question. They are asking, will we ever get another Mass Effect game, or is the series dead? Dan, what do you think?
Oh, that's a hard one to answer. Well, EA's official statement is after the thing that I don't want to say I want to be wrong, but I think it is dead. I want to be absolutely wrong though, and my logic here is they scrapped the single player DLC for Andromeda. They didn't even try to further monetize this thing. They just scrapped it, and they released a statement just being like, yeah, it's on the shelf for now. That's been about it. It's been just 2 years of silence, and Dragon Age is coming up, and Anthem was kind of a bomb. I don't know if we'll get back to Mass Effect, genuinely.
I think because Anthem did not necessarily do as well as they had hoped, it means we're definitely going to get another Mass Effect, because the Mass Effect name, outside of one title, still has a very positive a word of mouth throughout the gaming community. Like, people, I think, would be excited for a return to form Mass Effect game. And so I absolutely think that we'll see one next generation.
I hope you're right. I really do.
I agree with you, CJ, in that sense, but I almost feel that they're kind of too scared of the risk because those games are so expensive to make. I think, and I want to be proven wrong because, like yourself, I want another good Mass Effect game. I fucking love Mass Effect, but I think we're more likely to see them attempt to remake than do. I think they're more likely to attempt to remake so they know that they're working with stuff that people already love, rather than try and bring in, say, new characters in a new universe again, because they've already done that once with Andromeda.
Yeah.
And then if they made another one, they'd be like, oh, here's a bunch of new characters and another bunch of new worlds. And I don't think they're willing to take that risk again. I think the only way we'll get another Mass Effect game is if we get a remake, or if they somehow come up with a game that's got fucking Shepard and Garrus and Tali and all of those guys in it.
Yeah.
Which I know, I know, but that's my point. And
I agree with Moyes. I agree with Moyes just because I feel like not only that, but a lot of the talent behind those games are gone. They have left. They have moved on to greener pastures.
Am I remembering correctly that they basically had to rewrite the ending of Mass Effect 3 after massive fan backlash?
Yeah,
Yes.
It wasn't just Andromeda that was like the spicy one. 3 had a very divisive ending, and they had to release basically a DLC that was more or less the ending is maybe different kind of DLC.
I think Andromeda and 3 are two very different case studies of what went wrong.
Yeah, definitely.
Andromeda is a team being forced to use an engine they don't know how to use and get a game out on time because stockholders demand it. And whereas 3 is we spend years promising that all of your decisions will matter in the end, and in the end we couldn't keep that promise. But I still think 3 people still like that. It's just it had the ending shit that they had to deal with. So Anthony Marzano's asking, with Death Stranding apparently being a game about a post-apocalyptic postman, god damn, why is that so hard to say? What is a mundane job that you could see being fun as a video game?
I was going to say cooking, but I don't find cooking mundane.
Mm-hmm.
And Cooking Mama, I like the Cooking Mama games. I know it's weird, but they do something in my brain that fulfills me.
Right there with you.
So hang on, let's roll back a bit. It's specifically a type of mundane job.
Yes, that would be fun as a game, a mundane job.
Oh, I know. Backpacking at a supermarket and having to get all the items in, as sort of like stacking them in the bags properly so that you're not going to have like a Kevin from Home Alone moment when your shopper's walking home, but at the same time it's not bad for the environment and they're not having to spend loads of money on carrier bags. So that would be cool. Sort of a challenge party game thing.
I guess in a way that's kind of Tetris.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like
Except-
Tetris, but with also weight and
Yes,
cost
yeah.
considerations.
And nothing disappearing from your bag.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just keeps on building. Yeah, and then you have to add the 5p charge if you want an extra bag. Like,
Mm-hmm. Or persuade the lady to get one of those bags for life.
Get a bag for life for 12p or something. Yeah. Thank God we put that charge on carrier bags, and now there's no problem with the planet.
We have that here in California, and I cannot count how many times I go to the grocery store and just see people load like cans into their cart and take their cart out to their car and then just load the cans into their trunk. Like, god damn, people, just pay the 10 cents for the bag. But Chris, do you have an answer for this?
It's weird because I tried to think of a mundane job that'd be fun as a game, but like that most of them have existed as a game in some form already. This is kind of going a bit back to almost like the start of when we were doing the show. But I don't know if any of you remember, I've got this weird ass fucking fantasy of being like an American truck driver. Does anyone remember that? No?
I vaguely remember you talking about that.
Yeah. But those truck driver games kind of already exist. You know what I mean? So I guess my only answer is like that it does exist in that huge range of games. If I had the time, I'd probably not play anything else. But I just have this weird, like, I think it'd be cool to just be this American truck driver. You go out on these open road hauls, just listening to music. You stop at these diners and you get these mugs of like engine oil black coffee served by sad, tired-eyed waitresses. And then back on the road, commit a few murders, eat a coyote. The American dream.
Dan, what about you?
Similar to Chris's, but I think being just a bus driver could be interesting. I'm sure there's like a bus driver simulator out there, but like a proper full-fledged like Hideo Kojima tier budget bus driving simulator. Where like, yeah, deal with the fucking old people, change and yeah, account for timing and stuff and get to your stops on time. Yeah, maybe get beat up by a random dude on the bus. All that fun shit I think could be very interesting in the context of a full-fledged game.
There is actually kind of, like you say, there's kind of a few. There's like, obviously there's that desert bus game. That's
Yeah,
kind of like
yeah.
the meme game. There are bus driver simulators made by the same team that make the trucker simulators. Like you just drive around Europe and they've got realistic layouts of European cities. And I think even, is it Sleeping Dogs? In Sleeping Dogs, if you get on a bus, you can just like drive the bus around like the city
Yeah,
and
you know,
just
you're
stop
right,
and
actually,
pick
yeah.
people up. And yeah, so mate, that dream's out there waiting for you. You just need to
It's out
get
there.
on
I'd
it.
start up find it. Yeah, it's start up Sleeping Dogs gun.
I would go with lawnmower. You just have a lawnmower and you mow lawns, and then you upgrade your lawnmower to better lawnmowers, so you'll mow lawns faster. I'd play that. I just
Hey,
like
hear me
cutting
out.
grass in Legend of Zelda, so I'll mow lawns.
Well, CJ, have I got the game for you?
Oh,
Because there was a Spectrum game called Advanced Lawnmower Simulator. Which was
Hell
like a-
yeah.
Which
You are
was like a
pulling
ma-
my leg.
No, I've still got a tape of it. I've still got it on tape because I've got a big carry bag full of Spectrum games. And you were a matchstick man with a lawnmower, and there was like grass in a house, and all you did was hold down Z. That was all you did. And as you held down Z, the dude just made his way across each row. And then by luck, sometimes you hit a stone, and if you hit a stone, you lost a life. And there was no way of getting around the stone or you just held down Z and hoped that there wasn't a stone at any point. You can go and look it up. I'm not pulling your leg.
Simpler times.
Better times.
better
Dan, you can
times.
keep your fucking bottle babies and you're falling down the hill because I just want to hold down Z, clear that fucking grass out.
Fair enough.
Occams, did we go to you yet?
Nope. My answer: elementary school crossing guard.
Now, are you an elementary school student acting as a crossing guard, or are you like one of the old ancient volunteers?
It's sort of like an Alien versus Predator situation where you get to play as both.
Hell yeah. Can you let the kids go into open traffic?
I mean, yes.
Yeah.
There's
Right.
like a fucking
Sold
there's
me
like
on
a
that.
fuck- there's like a fucking challenge where the kids are just they're just coming up to you and they're just like, "Is this how you thought your life would turn out?" And you've got to resist the temptation to belt them.
That
Like,
sounds
you just-
brilliant.
You save the game beforehand, and then you can just
Renegade,
like step
renegade
on the kid
option.
until he
Yeah.
dies. Yeah, really. Just
Chris.
stomp on him.
Yes.
Do you remember, like, back at school, there used to always be, like, a guy who ran an ice cream van, and there was always rumors that he was, like, selling weed or some kind of drugs out of the ice cream van? Maybe you could have some sort of, like, enemy type nemesis thing going on with the ice cream man.
Oh, right. Yeah. This
What
could,
if, like-
you know, on the basis of Occam's game, you know, it's cool, but there are all these open world possibilities that kind of come into this.
What if the
That
kids
is
could like
scenario.
push you into traffic as well? Just every now and then, just randomly come up on you and just they shove you into traffic because they're assholes.
You know, if
I would love to
Rockstar, if Rockstar ever decide that they want to make anything different ever again, then I think that they've like.
Hey, you know what? If Bully 2 has any side activities, crossing guard and all of these ideas would be pretty damn good.
I'd love if like every once in a while the ice cream man shows up, like parks the ice cream truck, but the music is still going, and you have to fight him, and it cuts to like a Street Fighter 2D level.
Complete with just simple animations of kids in the background raising their fists and lowering it, raising their fists and lowering it.
Yeah.
Okay, final question. We're going to end with Roland Berry Prins. They asked us 2 questions, but we're just going to go ahead and answer one. They want to know, there are people out there who only play Call of Duty and Madden every single year, and that's all they play. What one game would you ask them to try and play to get them into the hobby?
Well, I was originally going to say The Quiet Man because it's all they deserve. But, but I'm going to switch things up and say like Charlotte's shopping bag packing game, I think. Because, well, like Tetris turned like a huge generation of people onto video games. So, like, what better than like Tetris, but with like that more grittier, real world appeal? Like Tetris is all communist Russia, but the bagpacking one's like capitalism. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So
Because you make minimum wage.
Right, and you ruining the environment at the same time. So it's like that one's going to be way more popular than Tetris was.
Charlotte, what about you?
You see, I don't have the same reaction to that question as Chris, because I actually admire people who can just play one game and be satisfied with it, because they just sink a lot of time into it as a hobby, and also I don't know, I just don't have the attention span to do that. I would probably go the other way and say, why not try multiple games that people tend to just play all the time? So if you play Madden, why not play FIFA? Like I would play FIFA all the time if it's one of those things where it's like all the lads are like super good at it, and if you're crap at FIFA, everybody laughs at you. So that's why I don't play FIFA as much as I would like. But yeah, I just basically whatever they're obsessed with playing, I'd say, why don't you also play this other thing which you can also get obsessed with and maybe have a bit of variety? So like, yeah, my example would be Madden, FIFA.
Occam's.
Resident Evil 4.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to find someone who hates that.
I would dispute that though, because admittedly, I am not the best person at games, but I have got considerably better in the past few years. And when I played Resident Evil 4, I got myself really stuck because I ran out of items. So I don't think I'd recommend RE4. I think it's a bit too... I know I was playing on easy mode as well. My experience is it would probably be too difficult for somebody who's getting into the hobby, but that's just my opinion. I don't know.
Well, I think under the premise of the question, if they're playing Call of Duty or Madden, I think they at least have an understanding of it. The item thing, I'll give you that, but like I don't feel like the jump from Call of Duty to Resident Evil 4 wouldn't be that big of a leap to me.
Nah.
Maybe Madden is a little bit more, but I see what you're saying. Item management certainly would be an issue, but yeah.
Mine would be the dancing mini game from that Star Wars Connect game, just so they have to suffer through Han Solo. I'm writing Solo, Han Solo.
So basically, they just go right back to Call of Duty and Madden.
Exactly.
think all these other people are fucking nerds.
My goal is to actually turn them off of the hobby if I possibly can. If you're only playing Madden and Call of Duty, I'm going to do everything I can to get you to hate gaming. And there's no better way to hate gaming than with Star Wars Connect dancing.
If you wanted to go even further with that question, though, and you actually wanted to cause them like physical ill, you could go one further than the Connect Star Wars thing. And there was a Just Dance version where you had to Cossack dance, and somebody is going to bust their kneecaps trying to do that. So get them to do that. If you want to actually injure these people.
Just you saying that exists, like, made my fucking legs fall off.
Look up Just Dance, Rasputin, Boney M. It is, also if you're playing this with like your baby sister again, this is from experience, and you're in your sister's bedroom and her bedroom is just like a box, then you are going to elbow and eyes are going to get poked out, and it's just a mess. Just Google that Boney M. Rasputin. It's a nightmare.
It's a great song.
Yeah.
It is, but it's a bad Just Dance level.
I'll bet.
All right, this has been the Goddamn Mail.
Here's the mail, it never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail.
Goddamn mail.
We are just about out of time for this show, but before we go, Occams, we have a community shout out this week.
We do, and I want to point out that Han Solo riding solo works on 2 levels now that Carrie Fisher's dead. So thank you for that.
Oh my
God! Whoa, guys, whoa! Everyone take a breath. It's okay.
Ooh.
So this is a twofer. One, it's Flanks' birthday last week. Longtime community member, great fella. Wish him the happiest of birthdays. And I want to give a shout out to the pun master himself, Gus, TT Showbiz, who is not Duel Hill, but in my heart of hearts, I really would have believed Duel Hill joined the site just to play the character Gus. He was going through a rough time, and some community members helped him through it. And that just is a beautiful example of what Destructoid means to a lot of people, and it's certainly what it means to me. So shout out to those two fellas. They're good folks, love them dearly, and that's a community shout out.
All right, that is it, folks. On behalf of Dan, Chris, Charlotte, Occams, and myself, thank you for listening to Podtoid, and don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Podbean, and the Destructoid YouTube channel.